to be a great creative director or art director, you have to have a vision and for what you want, and then you need to be able to communicate your vision in a way that accounts for the least amount of data loss between me and the person listening to that. And then you edit along the way. And with AI, we're essentially seeing everyone become like creative directors, essentially, or art directors, having a vision, what they want. Now, some folks will just type a thing in and you can output the first thing that you see and grab that, and that's great. But if you truly have a vision, you need to communicate your vision through AI, like in the most clear way, succinct way possible, and then you edit it along the way. And that, in essence, is what, like, I talk with my team about this all the time. What is the vision for this piece? And if we don't know, then we need to step back and come back to the drawing board and get really crystal clear on the vision, get alignment around that vision, and then we need to communicate that vision so everyone's aligned and on the same page.
Hello and welcome to Best Story Wins. I'm your host Josh and I'm joined by my co-host Jason. And today our guest is Scott Smith of Intercom and Finn. Hey Scott, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, it's a real honor.
Good to see you, Scott.
So Scott, I know most people listening to this podcast have probably heard of Intercom before. But for our listeners, would you mind giving us an overview of what Intercom does and also a little bit about Finn and what you guys are building there?
Yeah, absolutely. So Intercom's been around, like you said, it's been around for nearly 14 years and is really, now the parent company. It's essentially the AI first customer service platform, and it's now made up of two halves. We have the next gen AI powered help desk, which customer service reps use as kind of like their control center to interact with their customers. And then we have our new product, our the number one AI agent for customer service, which we call Finn. And Finn can work with any other help desk out there, but of course, we think it's best when it works with Intercom. You use Intercom and Finn, which we call the Intercom suite, the help desk and Finn coming together to be the Intercom suite. And yeah, it's a new product and kind of like treated as a unique brand, but it fits into the Intercom ecosystem as well.
So looking back a bit, you've been a creative director at some really cool brands. Can you tell us a bit of your backstory and, for people who are aspiring to a CD role, just how you ended up cracking into that line of work?
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about it, and especially love talking to young creatives who are like interested in, getting up to the next level. I love it when people come to me and they're ambitious about it, and I think that's like the key aspect that you kind of have to have to get there. It's just like uh, screw it, I'm gonna make it happen kind of mentality. Um, yeah, so man, it's like in answering this question, I want to go, well, there I was in high school, and but we don't have the time for that. But truthfully, like in high school, I got interested in art and design. My brother would come from uh, come from college, and he would bring me art and design books, and really kind of fostered that interest. And I really was like very lost at the time, and didn't know that you could really make a career out of design. I was just very ignorant to it. And my brother would come and show me like all of his art and design magazines, and I got really, I was passionate about it. And I remember going to college, and I walked up to the wall, and it was like all these paper pamphlets of different topics, focus areas that you could study. And I saw graphic design on the wall, quite literally, like pulled it off of the wall. I'm like, well, I guess I didn't even know it was like a thing you could really do for a living. And I was so excited to kind of lean in there. And then, Jason and Josh, we were talking about this a little bit, but I grew up in Southern California, in city of Orange, and driving around Orange, I guess back in the early 2000s, I would see I would see the Obey Shepherd Ferry, like Obey posters, like hundreds and hundreds of feet up in the air on these overpasses. And at the time, it was no one knew what it was. It was like, it wasn't even, it wouldn't even have text associated with it. It was just Andre the Giant's face, and I was so interested in this, and I was like, this is this is crazy. Someone's risking their lives to put this up, and then they're not even telling you what it is. It's like this inside joke, or this, like, inside group of some kind. And graffiti art in Southern California, and design and surf culture all kind of like combined to get me really interested in design and art. And I studied with an amazing professor, San Diego State, Gary Benzel, and he hooked me up after I graduated. Hooked me up with a gig in a small creative agency called Ordinary Kids in San Francisco. And from there, I got my feet wet, started learning the ropes. And I went on to a company called Video Egg, and got into kind of like digital advertisement, and made a bunch of connections at Video Egg and Say Media. Video Egg transferred to, became a media company and changed their name to Say Media. And from there, I went into running creative at a company called TaskRabbit. I'm sure you're familiar. TaskRabbit's been around a long time, and yeah, I was kind of off to the races. Once I got into the tech scene, it was like, okay, this is where I'm meant to be. I felt like it was at the time that I kind of got involved in creative in tech. It was not as much of a thing as it is now, I would say. Not to sound like grandpa, but these internal creative teams weren't necessarily. It's really kind of grown into a whole new discipline. And I think there's been a lot of learnings, and it's very much more commonplace now to have like these wonderful creative teams internally in these like tech companies. But at the time, it wasn't as common. um, from TaskRabbit, I went on to a firm, which at the time I was the sole. I think I was the associate creative director, but there was no creative director. I was not associate to anyone, so it was just myself. I was the lone like brand designer on the team, and I developed the team from there. And from a firm, went off to Intercom, and I've been at Intercom for about 6 years. And yeah, it's been an amazing experience.
Yeah, just hearing you talk about Shepherd Ferry and uh, that moment in time really takes me back because I grew up here in Southern California as well. Um, one of the things that I'm super interested in learning about is you're overseeing creative for Intercom and Fin. You mentioned there are kind of two parts of uh, a whole. How do you manage? How do you manage like creative leadership for such a broad remit, and work in such a way where the brands feel cohesive and parts of a whole, but also distinct and able to stand on their own feet, if that makes sense?
The Intercom brand and the Fin brand being part of the Intercom ecosystem is intentionally um not a brand in a box. Like, it's intentionally wider set guidelines and rails. And we still have rules to the brand, but they're wider set. And if you think of a typical brand as being, what we would call a brand in a box, brands try to typically own a color palette, and own a typographic system, and own a visual style and illustration style. And the intention there is like recognizability, right? But the Intercom brand and the Fin brands really took a different approach. We worked with Collins and partnered very closely with Nick Ace over at Collins. And we developed this brand that it was based off of the concept was to build could we build a brand like a magazine approaches branding. So think about a magazine that comes out monthly, or and they have a certain style. Maybe they keep aspects consistent, like the masthead, but they'll change the art direction, and they'll change the typographic direction. And they'll use a certain graphic style for the article that's appropriate for the article. And that was really inspiring to us. The more I've thought about this post our brand launch, it's really become clear to me that Owen McCabe, our CEO, he wants to create a amazing design, and he wants to create an amazing brand, and he has a desire, like he has a very high bar for creative tastes. But more than anything, I believe he and what we try to do with the Intercom brand is about creating art, and standing out that way, like by curating the experience so much so that every touch point is just like meant to be really inspiring and brilliant art. And it's it's not easy. It's not an easy approach. It's not this way to streamline branding, I'll tell you that. Uh, but it results in the Intercom Creative Studio, ICS, to essentially operate like an in-house creative agency. And our focus is on just like continuously rising the bar for creative excellence. And I'll tell you, man, it's like uh, the desire, everyone wants to work with a cool brand, and add cool company. Uh, but it's got to make sense with the company strategy. And that's kind of what we rooted everything in.
Yeah, and so you've you've mentioned this before, that creative needs to be deeply connected to the overall company vision and strategy, and not just what looks cool. And obviously, you had those awesome billboards. Intercom is number one. Intercom is a complete customer service platform, and number two, Intercom is the leader in AI for customer service, which grabbed headlines for being like the dullest billboard, and like got a ton of attention, right? And you've mentioned too, even in presenting creative to your CEO, that he'll say like, go back to slide one, and like really looking at the messaging on this creative campaign more so than necessarily making it look pretty, or making the logo bigger. How do you think about this approach to vision that is so crucial to your creative process, and also embed that mindset in your teams across both Intercom and Fin?
Everyone wants, you're talking about the strategy and the idea behind the branding. And um, I certainly want to build like very compelling, interesting, aesthetic, visually inspiring brands. That's the fun stuff, right? But that is not my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is to win. I want to win. I want the company to win. And I want my responsibility from a brand perspective is to develop the brand that is right for the company, that's going to enable the company to do what it needs to do. So based on the company goals. For Intercom, we're just very lucky to be in a situation where the company goals are aligned with a vision, a creative vision to bring both halves together so that we can win while having very interesting and compelling creative. Um, as far as like the billboards go, that story, Jason, that you just brought up was a really good one. Like we had our messaging down for these billboards we wanted to do, and we had the brief, and we had a strategy, and I worked very closely with Kyle Rocco, who was our leads our PMM team, and we worked on a bunch of mock-ups, and we had like 30 slides, and we went into to pitch to our CEO Owen. And we started with our messaging slide, and quite literally it was typed out. It was like, one, Intercom is the number one AI agent for customer service. And it was our two bits of messaging. And then from there, all of these creative mock-ups that we had spent a bunch of time on, we got through the presentation, and Owen's like, go back to slide two with the messaging on it. That's the billboard. And we were just like, damn, that is some out of the box thinking. And it's another piece that I just want to kind of quickly hit on, which is for younger folks in the creative space thinking, and myself included, like I got into this thinking, how do I become the sole creative genius that people just hire and put in place and you just deliver the right answer all of the time? And it 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 sounds like such a, that's perfect this perfect creative being that doesn't exist, quite honestly, and it's so far from the reality of what this job really is across the board. Like, you talking to all, uh say, I'm sure you guys experience this too, like talking to all the folks in the industry that I know, and it's the same across the board, which is you end up getting into this and you work very closely with the executives, with the, CEOs typically. In my experience at a firm, it was with Max Levchin, and here with Owen McCabe, like working very closely with these guys to develop like the vision that they have in place. And it's really a partnership, is the point I'm trying to make, like this creative partnership between the creative team and you're working like a creative agency. They become almost like your clients, in the executive team. As far as getting, the team to kind of like getting the team to operate in this way across Fin and Intercom, like I said, it's set up like an agency, and really it all comes down to process. Like when I first came into Intercom, it was about starting from the ground up, setting in operations and making it very clear what the team is doing, what they're working on, and for the team, the individuals on the team, but also externally. Like, a lot of these internal creative teams become almost like a black box. Like, what are the creatives working on? And we wanted to be very open and transparent. This is what we're doing. You know, anyone that wants to see, this is how organized and thorough and, like buttoned up we are with our approach. But, also to keep the creatives on track with what they need to accomplish in a week. Creative operations. And then we have, my team is broken out into creative marketing, creative systems, and we share responsibility with creative web. Uh, so it's all of this kind of like creative ecosystem called Intercom Creative Studio.
It's funny. You made me think in part of your answer there about how Mad Men coming out, like as we were all coming up, probably didn't do us any favors, right? Because it really skewed, I think, our perception of like what it meant to be a creative leader. And it was just, I think the way that they portrayed Don Draper, especially, couldn't be further from how, creative work gets done, right? At companies and also at agencies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it was cool. I remember the time being like, I want to be like Don Draper. And when you start an agency, you can give yourself whatever title. And so, of course, I gave myself the creative director title. But
That's
And
why
you
you
know what I
started dressing mod for 5 years there, huh?
I mean, the thing I do appreciate about that show is like, I saw something on social recently, and it was like this guy was listing out the best pitches from Mad Men, and the thing that I really appreciated about that show was like, it's not like in every pitch won. In fact, a lot of the pitches did not win over. You know what I mean? And that is so true. Like, you come to the table with your best intentions, and it's always work. It's always work. Like there is no silver bullet to this stuff. And the executives, the whoever um, the ultimate approver of the project is, whoever you're working with, because in tech and in all of these, creative endeavors, unless you're doing something on the side and you are the sole kind of like owner of the studio and you're doing something, uniquely for yourself, you have people who are weighing in on the work and you're working with, essentially, and they have their own thoughts and opinions and want kind of to shape the thing as well. So it's always the back and forth, and it's this work is not done in a silo. It's a group effort, and great ideas come from all over the company. And this is the stuff that I was so unaware of as a more junior creative. Like I said, I had that I almost like this expectation of the role or of myself that I had to have the answer. And sometimes the answer is hearing someone else's idea and being, that's the idea. That's the best idea in the room. Totally egoless and just like we're all here together trying to do the best creative execution possible, whatever that is. And yeah, that's been enlightening for me in my career.
Yeah, we could go down so many rabbit holes with that topic. Um, I want to talk a little bit about the launch of Finn. So you've just in hearing you talk right now about Finn, it's obvious you're excited. It's obvious that the team's excited, and you've shared um, very excitedly about the company the brand when you were all first kind of announcing it. The hype is real, right? And so and you've also called Finn a tech success story in the making. Curious to understand, like, um, what decisions, strategic or otherwise, like went into the campaign's tone and the positioning, and how you're just approaching, talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, just speaking about like collaboration, within the space, working very closely with Owen, a lot of the conversation around the campaign was like, where is where is this technology at right now? Where is the industry at with the way that we're talking about it? Um, are we should we go out to establish ourselves as the best in the space, so like AI agents for customer service, or do we need to establish the space first? Like, are people aware that this exists, and should we be pushing the entire space itself and try to rise up the awareness of the space, or should we be pushing Finn as the best in the category? And ultimately, we landed in the billboards. That the campaign that is running right now is the number one AI agent for customer service. So, spoiler alert, essentially the category has grown so quickly in a matter of months. Like everyone here knows, like you drive in the Bay Area, you drive down the 80 into the city, and it's just like bombardment of AI tech ads. And so the category just like really skyrocketed. The buyer is very aware. Based on our research, customer service leaders are looking for an AI agent. They oftentimes don't know where to look. They're doing a lot of research, and we felt like, you know, let's when you're the best, that's the that's the best way to lead, is go out and market yourself as the number one if you can stand by it, and we can certainly stand by it. We're number one in performance benchmarks. We're number one in competitive bake-offs. If you take us and put us head to head with the competitors, we've won every single time, and number one on G2. And so yeah, the strategy was simple. It was, where is the category at right now, and can we acknowledge that the category is now at a place where the audience and the buyers are really knowledgeable about AI agents for customer service, and if so, let's lead with our best foot forward, which is saying what it is. And that's kind of the Intercom way, just like say what it is. And I'll tell you, I was at CCW in Vegas last week. I'm walking around the event, and everyone, no surprise, everyone's got an AI agent now. It's like the thing, right? Um, and I'm walking around, and I'm just going, man, it's as funny as it sounds. Everyone's booth says AI agent, and ours says the number one AI agent. So, which one are you going to go to? And hopefully the answer is go to Finn, the best one.
Sounds like you have a good opportunity for a guerrilla campaign to add like number two, number three in front of all the others.
Yeah, yeah. Distant number two, you know what I'm saying?
That's really cool. It's also what I love about that answer too is it comes on the heels of what you shared as your answer to the previous question about how like the your ego has like sort of right sized over the course of your career, and like you don't have to have all the answers. It's you're able to point to other people and kind of affirm their input. It's like when you're able to say you're number one and it's not coming from a place of like arrogance and you're the new kid on the block and it's just all gusto, but it's actually rooted in reality and data. Like I think that's just such a cool approach. And a lot of people I think have like a hesitancy in kind of owning their status when um I don't know. I don't know why that's the case, but maybe that's some work for other specialists, maybe in the realm of therapy to help people work through. Not podcasters, but I don't know, just something I'm thinking about.
Well, I mean, like there is something to the fact that sometimes saying the simplest saying the thing with the least amount fat on it is the most enticing thing you could do, and everyone wants to, from a marketing perspective, like everyone wants to find, and myself included, working in a creative way to find the creative key that unlocks the messaging and like there is I believe there's a creative answer to every problem, and when you find that creative answer, that is there's great energy there. And there's some great billboards that have done this really well. They have their brief, they have their creative problem, and the creative solution was perfect, and it was like, maybe it was like um a play on words, or Airbnb is great at this, and there's a million examples, like, but in a sea of people being clever, like the thing that actually stands out is doing the exact opposite. And there's not a lot of that going on, and just saying the thing that you want. People have no time. Saying the thing that you want people to take away is oftentimes the best. Like, we are the best, is the message, and the takeaway is not like a get, it's just instant. And so that's been our approach on some of these more recent campaigns.
Yeah. I've always wanted to talk a client into doing what like the local burger shop does, like the world's best hamburger, or sometimes you'll see, oftentimes in like tourist towns, like world's best ice cream sundae, that kind of thing. Like obviously, like you can't substantiate that it's the best, burger or whatever in the world, but um, I think there's some opportunity in having some fun with that idea.
I was just talking to someone about, I wish I could remember now. It's I think it was yeah, someone at Intercom, but we were talking about the scene from Elf where he goes into the coffee shop and they have a sign that says world's best coffee, and he's like, really, really, the best, holy smokes, like you guys did it. And it's like this shitty coffee shop in the middle of New York. And it is funny, that is kind of, it can, yeah, I don't know, that could be taken the wrong way, but like I said, in a sea of people, everyone trying to be clever, some folks really pull it off, and it's really memorable and a great campaign. But yeah, sometimes just saying the thing you mean is the best approach.
It's so good. Great reference to that scene. Uh, so you've recently been pushing on the introduction of Fin Insights and CX Score, which, you're talking a bit about the AI agent angle, but essentially these are, from what I understand, AI powered tools that are built around, supporting, enabling more meaningful brand communication, which is certainly tied to the DNA of Intercom's focus on, loving your customers and so forth over the years. What creative elements helped really ground these, technically sophisticated, complex products into, you know, distilling that down into approachable and useful messaging that's not like generic and soulless?
Again, I at Intercom more generally, it's I would love to take responsibility for that. But it's far more of a group effort, and from a messaging standpoint, it's about, saying the like words matter, words mean things, and just using, not getting into marketing fluff, not getting into like, I guess the two ends of the spectrum are like total bullshit marketing fluff that doesn't mean anything, or that marketers are using words that are inaccurate to the actual product, or they're trying to like hype it up and say something like it's endless the amount of power this thing. Is it, or is it quite limited? Just like being accurate with our messaging, it has been a major push more recently, as we've kind of shifted over into this AI world and it become an AI first company. It not really because of the transition to AI, but we've shifted our entire company, as well as the way that we go to market with the shift of AI. So from a pure marketing standpoint, the truth is like we've just been very, very diligent and focused on whatever message we're leading with and going to market with is not on the scale too far into product speak, and so like product focused, and that you'd have to be like an engineer or a builder to understand, and not too far on the other end of the spectrum of being like the marketing fluff speak, and just speaking in terms that people will understand and it will resonate and will be accurate. Um, yeah, so I mean, the from a creative standpoint, work very closely with the PMM team, work very closely with product design team, and in more recent times, like Intercom is we're in SF, we're in Dublin, we're in London, and the result is, having all of these offices kind of like, pretty separated, which just means I get up very early to have these to jump on phone calls and meetings. But it's really I've never felt like the team has been closer in communication in more recent times because of the shift that we've made. From a marketing standpoint, our uh, uh, chief product officer has become essentially like the head of marketing, or shares that responsibility, and has really kind of like reshaped the way that we collaborate, the way that we share the work that we're all working on, the way that we communicate, and it's far less of a throw it over the fence type of mentality or approach that we were in before, quite honestly, especially with the distance, and far more collaborative. Like we've got, I mean, I'm going to get into the AI stuff a little bit here, but quite literally, like we've got folks on the team that are writing code that is going and being updated on the website that are not engineers. They're like PMMs or designers. We've got designers that are writing and using AI to help write for a campaign. It's just all over the map where we have less silos of specialty, and everyone with the help of AI is becoming like a very well-rounded marketer essentially. So I'd love to take credit there, but it's definitely like a full team approach.
What role does storytelling play in terms of how you're positioning Intercom and Finn as thought leaders in the CX space?
Yeah, Intercom's always been really great at this. To me, to be perfectly honest, it's come directly from the founders and the executives, like writing, as simple as it sounds, like writing blog articles, being out there in the space to really lead by example, and just like, you know, it's about mind share, but it's not bullshit. It's about showcasing the fact that we are the leaders in the space, and the space is developing very quickly. And here's our thoughts on what is happening in real time. I mean, there's kind of like a bit of a joke about this internally about like, oh yeah, we're building another blog. We have I think it's three blogs. I'm working on creating a creative blog that I can write and contribute to. I think we've got a design, a product design blog that the team is working on. But to answer your question, like, as leaders on the intercom team, um, there's a certain amount of responsibility to showcase your, yeah, I mean, on the podcast right now, right? To showcase your leadership and speak about your experience and, just overall help with mind sharing, get the word out. And that is something that the leaders at the executives at Intercom, Owen, Des, they lead by example by doing this. They're constantly writing, blog posts and doing podcasts and interviews and just getting the word out. And if more recently we launched an event, and we, as an experiment, I'm sure you guys were bombarded by all of this on LinkedIn, but as an experiment, like, the entire company was asked to share stuff on LinkedIn. It was, very tactical in our approach, but it was experimental, and we wanted to see, would we get great results? How would LinkedIn kind of like handle the amount of posts that we're doing, and like, would they optimize and raise them up, or after a certain amount would they like start to dwindle down? Would we see less impressions? And it was a total experiment, but by doing that, everyone at the company had a voice and was really standing up to be like, hey, I'm an expert in my field, and this is what we're doing at Intercom. You know, come and check it out, type of mentality. So, look, the responsibility is on everyone at the company to really get the word out and show up, and it's all about mind share and showing up as the expert in the space, which Intercom is.
Hearing you talk about like how you've grown as a leader and like how you work and like, some of what you touched on about ego, like it's a lot resonates.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, this man, I'll tell you, the AI thing I see on my team, like, we are an AI company.
Yeah.
They took Intercom, which was a winning company, and they quite literally, and I love this, by the way, because I get fired up by this, because I just love the mentality, but I also I like to gamble. I say that like I do not have a gambling problem. I'm very stingy, actually, but I just love the mentality, like the fuck it, let's put all the chips on AI, and that's what they did. They took all of the chips and they put it on AI before anyone. We beat everyone to the punch, which results in us having more time, more exposure. Uh, we are by far the best option out there, and that's great for me to be able to say, like, I want to be the best. But with all of that said, like, we are an AI company. There is a massive push to everyone at the company, like, constantly. That's like, y- your job is to leverage AI to enhance what you bring to the table. And I have been hitting on this with my team, like, nonstop. Use AI, use AI, use AI, and to enhance your work. And I think that you guys have seen this, I'm sure. There's a very interesting reaction, especially so in the creative space, which is like, either people are embracing it, and maybe this is AI generally. People are either embracing it, or they're like, screw that. AI is not going to take my job, type of, or whatever it is. Maybe they're just scared, just unsure about it. And I've seen this, I've seen people who are like, you know, they hear it, and they're like, they go back to their job and they just do the things that they've always done. And I think part of the issue there is there's so many options. It's not like it's not like Adobe Creative Suite where you just like, I just need to learn Illustrator, like it was for us, right? I remember getting Illustrator, whatever it was, Illustrator 7 or something, like, the book, and just going, okay, chapter 1, like, let's learn how to use this program. And the right way, in my opinion, to be approaching this stuff right now is is AI is not going to take your job. Um, AI is a tool. Like you've got as a creative in this space, my personal opinion, learn the tools to enhance your work. The next creative that I hire and the one after that, and so on and so forth, will have AI expertise in their portfolio. Like that is a mandatory. And it's only going to continue from that point forward. And the people who are embracing it now are going to make it over. Like this is my vision into the future. They're going to make it through, and the new generation are going to be like leveraging um our design tools that we've used, and our the new ones that are coming up, as well as the AI tools. It's a tool in your toolbox, quite frankly. And the folks that are seeing that and exploring that and pushing that are going to be the ones that are going to be successful moving into the new way.
Yeah, you've talked a bit about the creative cyborgs, right? Kind of designers fused with these tools. I don't know if anyone's fused with them just yet. Not until fall 2026. But from the different work you're doing, and we had a guest on a few weeks ago from Dropbox, Heaton Shaw, and I love his perspective on this. That it's like you're ultimately doing, each person's job is ultimately like a set of tasks they do. And some of those tasks benefit from an AI workflow. Some can be done by an AI agent. Some benefit from human beings talking to each other, right? So like you break it down into all of these different tasks. And I think something you were touching on reminded me a lot of our team and even me personally, where like some of the maybe knee-jerk reaction to, or there's a bit of like a dismissive attitude, I think, especially when something is threatening what you perceive to be your own craft or your own value or livelihood, right? But there has also been a pretty massive shift just this year, because I think some of that dismissive attitude was just rooted in where the tools actually were at, right? Like, and with something like handling typography and layout, there's still a lot left to be desired in most of these tools. You're like just for the first time seeing generative AI actually like writing a word spelled the way you want it to be spelled, right? But to like actually align with the sophisticated brand system and nail the layout and spacing pixel perfect just isn't there yet, right? So I'm curious, like as you look at these different tasks or jobs to be done that each person handles, and even as you're encouraging different people to experiment, are you seeing any specific tasks or work types that are really, bolstered by AI, not just for efficiency, but where you're like, yeah, this is really actually enhancing the quality of the work?
Yeah, absolutely. From that standpoint, it I see a lot of it enhancing the work. What I don't see, to your earlier point there, Jason, is like a silver bullet that just, I should say I don't see a lot of it. And I think this is part of the thing that can maybe ease some of the tension with creatives. Like I'm right now working on a video campaign, and we're using VEO3. And what you'll see if you use it, at least my experience, and in talking with other, what I would say are experts in using these AI tools for video, not myself, but externally. Um, it's not, you don't just type in a thing and you get a great result, right? Like it's just not happening that way right now. Maybe it will at some point. Um, but it's it's a singular tool in your tool belt. And really the folks that I'm speaking to are getting great results with AI for video, are using like 5 or 6 different applications, and some are more traditional and some are the newest AI shiny thing. And they're using a lot of different AI tools for different aspects of getting the end result to be like as perfect as they can. So as far as like using the tools to enhance, like for creative, a lot of times it's like, okay, I'll give you a specific example. We're using Midjourney, and you know, we're all using ChatGPT. Shit, I use ChatGPT to like form an email and then edit it down. But for all of the artwork that we use in at Intercom, all I should say all of the created artwork. If you go to intercom.com and you click through the site, like we do have AI generated images, but a lot of the artwork that we use is created by artists, and we'll use Midjourney to like create mood boards, and we'll create a bunch of mood boards, and we'll try to find the style that we're looking for, and then we'll work with an artist to bring to life the artwork that the art direction that we want to bring to life for that particular page. And that's really, there's something really interesting about that, because what AI is enabling right now, what AI is enabling us to do is it's really like kind of putting everyone in the art direction chair. And to be a great creative director or art director, you uh, you have to have a vision and for what you want, and then you need to be able to communicate your vision in a way that take accounts for the least amount of data loss between me and the person listening to that. And then you edit along the way. And with AI, we're essentially seeing everyone become like, you know, creative directors essentially, or art directors, having a vision, what they want. Now, some folks will just type a thing in, and you can output the first thing that you see and grab that, and that's great. But if you truly have a vision, you need to communicate your vision through AI, like in the most clear way, succinct way possible, and then you edit it along the way. And that, in essence, is what, like, I talk with my team about this all the time. What is the vision for this piece? And if we don't know, then we need to step back and come back to the drawing board and get really crystal clear on the vision, get alignment around that vision, and then we need to communicate that vision so everyone's aligned and on the same page. And when they start heading down, if we're going, I always think about it like a compass for some reason, but if we're headed, sometimes I check in, the team is going southwest, and I'm like, yo, we were meant to go northeast on this. You know what I'm saying? And so it's part of the job is just to like, it's an editing process type driven work at this point.
So if we were to go back 18 months ago, people probably wouldn't have predicted that we'd be at where we're at right now in terms of the tools we're able to use and what they're outputting. Um, where do you think we're going to be 18 months from now in terms of how these Gen AI tools are helping creatives build branded content or brand content? And how do you think we'll leverage them for companies like an Intercom or a Fin?
18 months from now, I think it's simple. I think it's the tools are just going to get better and better. sounds sounds pretty dumb, but the tools are going to get better. You're going to need less and less of the suite of tools, right? It's still going to be a tool in your tool belt. It's still not going to be the silver bullet. This is my personal prediction, but I think there's also going to be clear winners there. Part of the thing with all these AI tools is it's daunting. Like, people don't know where to start, and I think there's going to be clear winners in the space. Like, okay, you use ChatGPT for this, you use Claude for that, you use VO3 for, what I mean. It's going to be more and more crystallized, and I think they're going to become uh, stronger and better and more enhanced, and need less of the editing and multi-tool kind of like collaboration from other products to be able to get to where the creator wants. So I think it's just going to be like um, more streamlined.
So Scott, I know we're getting close to time here, but like, what's something like a creative habit or a tool that you just can't live without in kind of your day to day?
I would say, as cheesy as this may sound, because I'm thinking through like all of the very helpful processes or programs that I use for creative generally, but the one thing that comes to mind is just in-person collaboration is allows for you. It's all of the moments in between the meetings where it's casual. And it's just time spent with people. You get to know folks a lot better. You can finish each other's sentences. Like i- there's stuff in the in between that you can't even really kind of like get to the nugget of what it is, but it results in greater creative work, in my opinion. Intercom is 3 days a week in office, and uh yeah, I think it's really, really powerful for the creative team.
What's your favorite Fin creative execution to date?
I would have to say the new the new fin.ai website is really, really well done. And I say that objectively. The web team is in London. I have like kind of a shared responsibility with the web creative team. I input into that, but there's a lot of folks inputting into that as well. But I think that the team has been doing an amazing job, and also just like the frequency at the rate at which they're producing exceptional creative work, but also just like getting pages live is really astonishing. So I would say the new fin.ai site is probably my favorite.
Yeah, it's awesome. What's one bold prediction you have for brand building in in a world where AI comes first?
I guess the boldest prediction will be this new era of these new designers. I think we're in the wave right now. I think we're gonna see the old and the new kind of establish itself very soon. Um, the old guard and the new guard, and I think that the new creatives are, I called creative cyborgs in this LinkedIn post that you referenced earlier. Which in hindsight, I was like, maybe people won't appreciate this, but it's a creative way to kind of articulate the idea, and it's really just creatives who are leveraging AI to enhance their work. And that is going to be the new way. And it's going to happen if it's we're in it right now, and so maybe you could argue it's already there or already happening, but it's going to be so clear. uh to me, it's going to be like now everyone is expected to be an expert in AI, as you would expect to have someone be an expert in the Adobe Creative Suite and Figma. AI is going to be included in that tool set.
Nice.
Scott, it's been awesome having you on. For people that want to learn more about you and maybe follow you, and maybe even reach out to you to chat, where's the best place for them to do so?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I guess LinkedIn. I think I'm like Scott Smith 18 or something. I don't know, whatever name it gives you. But Scott Smith at Intercom, you'll find me.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah. Thanks very much, you guys. Take care.